Hey, welcome. Today, we are diving into something that is a total game changer for any teacher trying to get better. We're talking about how to watch an expert teacher in their classroom and actually see the magic behind what they do. The process, not just the performance. So yeah, let's jump right in. Okay, picture this. You're about to go observe another teacher's lesson. You've got your pen, you've got your notebook, but then you walk in and whoa, there's just so much going on, right? It can feel completely overwhelming. What are you actually supposed to be looking for in all that chaos? It's super easy to get fixated on the obvious stuff. Things like, wow, the pace is really fast, or their behavior management is on point. And yeah, that stuff matters, but the real gold is buried deeper. An expert observer, they're looking for something else. They're trying to see how the teacher makes their own thinking visible to the kids. They're watching for how they're building up student independence, and really zooming in on the process of the modeling.
And that brings us to the first big shift we need to make in our mindset. We've got to stop thinking of observation as, judging a performance. It's not about giving a score. It's about being an active analyst, trying to understand the learning journey as it's actually happening in real time.
So what's your main purpose then? It's really to zero in on one key thing. How is that expert teacher making their thought process transparent? How are they showing the how and why behind what they do? And, just as important, you're tracking that journey, that shift from students needing a ton of help to eventually being able to fly solo. So, yeah, this totally requires a new way of thinking. You're not just a passive audience member in a theater. Instead, think of yourself as a learning detective. You're on the case. You're actively hunting for clues, the specific words, the little actions, the tools they use that show you exactly how that deep learning is being built, brick by brick. All right, so every good detective needs a powerful tool, right? A magnifying glass, maybe. Well, for us, it's a question. To cut through all the noise and chaos of a busy classroom, you need one single guiding question that's going to act like your filter for everything. This one question is going to keep you absolutely laser focused on what really, truly matters. It stops you from getting sidetracked by all the shiny surface level stuff and points you directly at the heart of what makes modeling so effective. Ready for it? Here it is. The question is, how is the teacher helping pupils understand the process, not just complete the task? Seriously, this question is everything. See, anyone can get a kid to complete a task. That's just the outcome. But getting them to understand the process, that's where the real learning happens. And this question forces you to look for the evidence of that.
Okay, great. So we've got our guiding question locked and loaded. Now it's time to actually start gathering those clues. And we're going to break this down into two simple parts: what you need to listen for and what you need to look for.
First up, let's talk about your ears. You've got to tune them in. You're listening for the teacher basically thinking out loud, narrating their own decision-making. You'll hear things like, okay, so I'm going to choose this method because, or watch out, a really common mistake right here is, even things like, hey, does this remind you of what we did last week? All that language, it's making their expert thinking process available for everyone. And I love this way of thinking about it. These aren't just instructions. They are literally the soundtrack to expert thinking. It's like they've hit record on their brain and are playing it out loud for the kids. That is such a critical piece of evidence for you to be listening for. All right, now let's switch over to our eyes. What are we looking for? Keep an eye out for a worked example that's broken down into really clear, maybe even named steps. Watch for how often the teacher is checking for understanding. And this one is huge. Look for scaffolds being used. Things like sentence starters or checklists. But then, and this is the important part, watch for the moment they're deliberately taken away. And this is where it all comes together. Because all of these clues, the things you hear and the things you see, they aren't random. They're all pieces of a much bigger puzzle. And that puzzle is the student's journey towards working on their own, towards autonomy. So this is the path you're trying to spot. It's a clear sequence. Step 1, the teacher models everything, showing exactly how it's done. Step 2, the students get to practice, but with some help, with a scaffold. Step 3, that support, that scaffold, gets intentionally pulled back. And finally, step 4, the pupils are ready to try the task all by themselves. Independence. And really, that journey from I need your help to I can do this myself, that is the entire point of great modeling. So as that learning detective, your job is to see that process happening, to spot that gradual release of responsibility and figure out, wow, how did they engineer that so perfectly? Okay, so we've talked a lot about how to observe somebody else, but let's bring it back to you. Why does any of this matter for you? I mean, how does getting good at this actually impact your own teaching in your own classroom?
Well, it's actually pretty simple. Becoming a better observer makes you a better teacher. Full stop. When you can break down what an expert is doing, when you can deconstruct it, you're literally building your own toolkit to do the exact same things. You're not just a spectator anymore, you're learning the blueprint for success.
And that leaves us with one last big question. And this one is for you to take away. You now have the tools to see how an expert makes their thinking visible. The real challenge, the real work, starts now. The question is, how are you going to make your own thinking visible for your students?